Hi, I'm Streaky, this is Metropolis Mastering. Today I'm going to answer the question that I keep getting asked is, if you were to start again, how would you start becoming a mastering engineer? So the question is, how would I become a mastering engineer today, 2017, if I was going to start again? I started in about 94, different times, no internet, no email, no home studios, just big studios with people putting out CDs, no MP3s. I feel 100, but that's how it was. And for me, it was a question of trying to get a job in a studio so that the studio would then, that's the only way you could get in, basically. You had a studio. There was Ataris and things, and there were samplers, so people were making tunes at home. But really I wanted to work in the music industry. I wanted to work with artists and turn knobs for a living. That's what I wanted to do. So the way I got in was I wrote a letter every month or every week basically to all the different studios. There was quite a lot at the time, and I wrote to them all and got letters of rejection back from all of them, and then kept going and kept going and kept going. And then one day I got a letter back from Battery Studios asking if I wanted to work in CD mastering. Didn't know what it was, but I was keen, went along, and I'm still doing it now. Fortunately, they gave me the job. But if I was starting today, what would I do? What would be my suggestion? Now, for the different times, I think it's actually a lot easier now than it would have been when I started. There were only a handful of jobs when I started. There was only a small amount of mastering studios. No one was really as up on mastering as they are today. So you had to get a job. There was a selection of studios in London. You had to get a job at one of those. Now, today you can go online, you can get mastering online. Everybody can become a mastering engineer if they want to. Whether to get to a good level though, my suggestions would be these, and this is to answer anybody that wants to be a mastering engineer today. Now, it's going to take you a while. It's not going to be something that's going to happen overnight. Everybody wants quick results, but to get good, it's going to take some time. To build up your clients, it's going to take some time. To get in front of the right people, that's going to take some time. So I personally think that, like any business, it takes about 10 years to really get to the point of where you're doing it as a full-time living, and you're doing it in a way that you're going to enjoy it and it's going to be something that you want to do all the time. So be prepared for a bit of a long one, but that's the same with anything you do. Anything that's worth doing is going to take you a while. But the first thing I would say is, whether you're working out of a bedroom, a garage or wherever, when you're very, very first starting, is the most important thing is the room and the speakers. Now, they're the main things to get right first of all. Get this room sounding the best it can be. Sit in the right position. I talk about this all the time in other videos. Setting yourself up with the right speakers. Spend the money on the speakers. Get the best ones you possibly can. You can spend 1,500 quid and get yourself a fairly good set of speakers to get you started. I'm not saying they're going to be great speakers, but they will get you started. You'll certainly be able to hear a lot more than you will be able to with a £300 pair of speakers. So you'll be looking at low range focals, things like that. Ultimately, you want to end up with a big set of speakers with big low end and stuff, but to start with, you just need something that you can actually hear on. You can hear some low end, you can hear mostly, you can hear a lot of detail. Make sure the room's right. Without a good sounding room, it doesn't matter what equipment you've got, you're not going to be able to hear what you're doing. So I would also suggest these days, if I was starting again, I would stay in the box totally. I would get a handful of plugins. So I would just stick to Fab Filter plugins. Okay, so I would just say I'd get the EQ and I'd get the limiter. Might not even bother with the multiband. Don't touch any other plugins apart from those two. Learn them inside out. Learn them because that is the essentials of what I did when I was first learning how to master records in the analog world. I just had a compressor and I just had a limiter and a EQ, and that's all I had. So it wasn't like I could start throwing in loads of different plugins. I think you're going to confuse yourself. You're not going to get a result fast enough. You're not going to be able to get work. Now, speaking of work, how would you get the work? So what I would do is and this is so easy these days, because you know who you want to work for. You know who these people are. You know where they're at. They're online. They've got social profiles. You can go to gigs. You can see stuff. I would just hit up people all day, every day, that are making music that you enjoy and you like, and I would do it, and I'd say, I'll master stuff for you for free. You're working on stuff you enjoy. You're spending all your time on those 2 plugins, so you're really learning those well. You've got some great speakers and you've got a good room so you can hear what's going on. You're going to hopefully get a decent result for them. They're not paying you anything, so you're just getting experience. You're using their name to put on as your credit, so you're building up your profile. I'd fill myself with that work. So I'd probably do that in the evenings and weekends to start with, because if you can't work for free and then not have any money coming in, because that's pointless. So working during the day and then evenings and weekends, just fill your time out with free work. And not just any random weirdo that wants free mastering, because if you're going to do it for free, then it might as well be stuff that you enjoy, and bands that are hopefully you can piggyback off them by saying you've mastered stuff for them. Whether or not, they might do one song with you and then go, yeah, that was good, and then go and do their album with someone else. That still happens to me today. I'll do a single for someone, then they'll go to America or wherever, and they'll master the album with such and such. And it's really annoying, and it's a real gutter, but it still happens to me now. It'll happen all the way through your career. It's just the way it goes. You win some, you lose some. But you can use their names to then build your CV. And so once you're full up with that free stuff, then start charging £50 a track. Now, I wouldn't go too low. If you start getting in the 20s and 30s, you might as well be free. If you're going to get paid, just charge the lowest £50 or the equivalent in your country, because you're either going to get paid a certain amount of money, and then that means that you're going to be looked upon and it's worth you working on stuff that you don't like, or you might as well be working on stuff you do like that's going to help you build your profile. You're not going to build your profile on £50 tracks of music that you don't like, of bands you've never heard of, but you're going to build them off the free stuff of bands that you've heard of and bands that you can use to mix around with. So I would start charging £50 a track, and then I would start filling out my time with those £50 tracks. Now, once I've got that going, and I've got that going in my evenings and weekends, so I'm filling most of it with free stuff, starting to chip in a few 50s here and there, I'll then start charging everybody 50. When you're charging everybody £50 a track, then you can start upping your price a bit more. So when you're full up with the £50 tracks, evenings and weekends, maybe that means you can go to doing it during the day. But then you're going to have times where you haven't got much work on, blah, blah. So you're going to have to do some free stuff then as well. You're going to start getting desperate. So I would always fill up my free time first with the £50 stuff until I get to the point where I'm bursting at the seams. Start putting your price up a bit more. See how far you can go with it until you'll find a level where people will stop wanting to pay you for 80, 100, 150, 200, 300, whatever you can get yourself up to. But I would always stick with the same equipment, the same plugins, because when you start getting the £50 in, you can then start investing that into buying some analog equipment. Now the reason why I say stick to plugins to start with is because when you start getting into the analog world, you're talking big bucks. For anything that's decent, and you're going to need decent stuff, you're talking money. If you're going to need the best converters to get in and out of the analog equipment. Now, Shay and I have discussed this in a previous video a couple of weeks ago, saying that you can get cheaper converters now, but you're still in for a few £1,000s. You've then got leads to go with that need to be good. You've then got to have some equipment to bother with some A to D, so you're going to have to buy an EQ, talking a few thousand for one of those that's decent. I would always say, if you're starting off, just go mass select. Analog stuff, just go mass select. Don't go don't go crazy. Just get a Maselec EQ, Maselec compressor, and use your FabFilter limiter that you've been learning with anyway, and you're in the ballpark. Learn those for years and years. Just get better and better and better. You don't need to keep buying loads of equipment. You don't need to keep using loads of different plugins. Just get really good on one piece of kit. So as soon as a job comes in, bang, you know exactly what you're doing. You've heard it. You know what that bit of kit does. You know how to get a good sound out of it. You can get a result for them. You can send it back. They're happy. They're going to want to come back to you. They're going to trust you, and they're going to build a relationship with you. Now, onto relationships. Now, this is another key point of when you're building your career and throughout your career. It's about relationships. Now, I would say mastering or any business is 80% relationships, 20% doing the work. If you haven't got a relationship with people, they're not going to work with you. People mainly work with their friends, or they work with people that they have been recommended to, and a lot of people only recommend people that they've worked with, they trust, and so that takes time. Now, never when you're mailing these people to get the free work or whatever you're doing, it's really horrible if you just say to them, give me your free work, give me I can do that, because they get bombarded with emails like that all the time, and it's just really boring, and they're not going to, that's not how you build a relationship. I would say if you're online, you need to, you know who these people are, start talking to them about music, start showing interest, start building a relationship, start getting to know people around the industry, start hanging out in the right places, go to clubs, go to bars, go wherever you know these people are going to be, so you can start building your relationships, so they can start giving you their work because they trust you and they know you, they want to be with you. If you're in an attended session, they want to work with you. That's what I would do. I would just network like crazy. I would network online, I'd network offline. It's so easy online to network now. Just chat to people about what they're into, talk to them about their music, show that you're actually interested in what they're doing, because you are. You're giving them free mastering because you love their music. They haven't come to you to say, can you master it for me because of what you've done before, so here's some cash. That will come later. Early on, you've got to just network and get all that free work in. Then you're going to have to give them a good result. So you're going to need a decent set of speakers, a decent room. You're going to have to know those plugins quickly, because you don't want to be messing around and throwing stuff on and trying this plugin and that plugin because it's not going to work. Oh, I'll warm it up with a vintage warmer. Well, how do you know how that vintage warmer sounds on stuff? You don't, because you haven't used it enough. If you used it all the time, fair enough. You know what that sound does, and you know what it does to that genre of music or that track, but you don't know it well enough to be able to just slam it on the first time and hope it works. You don't know your room, you don't know your speakers, you don't know what you're doing. So you've got to learn that EQ like the back of your hand. Learn a compressor maybe, but maybe not. I would just go EQ and limiter. Then you know the limiter. You know how it sounds. You can set it up in 1 minute. You know how it's going to sound when you push into it. You know how your EQ is going to sound. You know how to get a nice top end. You know how to tighten up the low end. Just keep it simple. I think that's said it all, how I would start if I was doing it again. I'd network like crazy. I'd make sure I had a very small, nice setup so I could hear what I was doing. I would fill my day, my evenings and weekends with free work until I could slowly put my price up. And then after a while, you'll be doing it all the time. You'll be getting paid, and then you'll be able to work with decent people. You know who all the record labels are. Make friends with them. Make friends with the A&R man, make friends with the post boy, because he'll be the A&R boy by the time you get to the point of being a decent mastering engineer. 5 years time, he will have worked up, bang. So get out there, get networking, get to know the sound, do a job during the day so you're not desperate, and then it makes you a bit more relaxed about mastering, and then you can really enjoy it and you can make things sound good and get some kind of satisfaction out of doing it, rather than just doing it out of desperation, because that's just pointless. Well, I hope this helped. Until next time, thanks for watching. Please thumb it up if you like the video. Please subscribe and ring the bell that's there on the subscriptions. Until next time, if you've got any questions, please let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching. Bye.